Welcome, welcome. Today we do something different. We are here with a colleague and friend of mine. If you want to present yourself and address the public, please go ahead.
Sure, thanks for having me. So my name is Mengjia. I'm a therapeutic coach. I help guiding individuals and also groups to have their personal transformation. I have my own therapeutic coaching framework by combining various of evidence-based approach so that every individuals can have this little journey of bringing conscious awareness to their life and also helps them to heal deep within their subconscious and also helping them to rewire their unconscious thinking patterns to achieve some deep healings.
Well, thank you very much. It was really extensive and really understandable. So you do a lot of things. And you're also, of course, a therapist. So our goal is, of course, to help people overcome any challenge they might have in their life. But my question to you is, when you're not helping a client, how does the therapist day looks like? Do you have any stressful days? Is your life perfect? Let us know.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think I will start by saying that you should never be convinced by anyone telling you that they have their lives figured out. As a therapist, you are also encountering the same issues as your client experiences. What I also notice sometimes is by sharing my own experience or opening up my own vulnerabilities, also helps out my clients to feel that they can trust me more because they know I have literally been in their shoes and having the same encounters in life.
So it's connecting more to the human instead of the therapist, no?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of times clients saying that when they are having a traditional talk therapy that they feel like they're just only sharing their experiences, but they feel that the therapist didn't really go through the same experience and they sometimes even feel judged. Probably something they don't really do consciously, but it's just a feeling that they feel sometimes.
Well, it is understandable, of course. Sometimes probably the point of view that is missing is that we are also human beings and all the issues that our clients bring to us, most likely it's something that at some point we overcame ourselves, which is also a reason why people like us enter this environment of healing, coaching, and helping other people. In a way, humanizing the relationship between therapist and a client to encourage the client to see that we are all at the same level when we speak human to human.
Exactly, yeah.
So my question to you is, because I really want to know the answer. Do you have stressful days?
For sure, I think every day can be a stressful day. You can always have a good day and bad day. Even sometimes a good day can still turn out to be a very stressful day. So every day you will walk into a session without really expecting what could come out of it. Because a lot of times we're really working with our subconscious mind, even sometimes the unconscious part of the mind. And so a client can come in with a very simple issue, but it's really deeply rooted in something that they don't even know themselves. I have also encountered sessions where I thought it would be a very simple fix, but once we go in deep and a lot of the past traumas that came out, so of course, as a therapist, you can have your little personal shield to kind of protect you from those emotions that release from your client. But of course, it can also bring a little bit more stress into your day after really having a very traumatic experience from the client.
This is perfect. And if you allow me, I would like to follow up with another question about what you just said. So the therapist can, of course, shield themselves not to be affected too much by the issues of the client, because also we are there to help. So following the client too deep in the rabbit hole might be not useful during the session. So I guess my question really is, what do you do physically to shield yourself even before or after a session with a client? How do you help yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. So before the session, I would normally start by having a little breathing exercise for myself, just to help center my awareness a bit more. Because like you said, we're also normal people. You probably have just had your lunch or had your own thing going on, and now you need to enter a secret place where you are giving 100% attention to your client. So a little breathing exercise or a small meditation always help me just to get a bit more centered, so that I can really tune in the energy in the room and help me to be more attentive of the things that my client will be telling me later on. And what is also really important to do after the session is to really have a proper closing. I heard also learned a lot of really useful tips from people who are more working with energy fields, because they always feel, especially if you do physical type of energy healing, so with Reiki, so when you're having physical touch with your clients, that they sometimes feel that they're also carrying that energy even after the session. So a little ritual for yourself to help properly closing the session. For example, washing your hands and telling yourself, I'm letting this energy leave my body. So those little personal rituals will always really help.
That definitely does. And on a personal level, I can tell that I follow pretty much the same steps because I prepare myself before a session. Sometimes I do breath work, sometimes I do just a short meditation, or I go directly into self-hypnosis to bring the best version of the therapist that I can be out, no? And the ritual part after a session, I also do something similar. And it's not only about my body, but also concerning the space that I'm in. I also want to clean the room physically and energetically. Not only I pass the vacuum cleaner and clean the floor, of course, I do that, of course. But it's really more of letting the energy flow outside the space to be ready to welcome the next client, which will bring probably a different kind of energy to the session. And my ritual for that is using, I think you know it, of course. In Italian, we call it palo santo, which is a specific kind of wood that when you burn it is considered sacred in many traditions. And I also clean the room with that one in every surface that the client or I touched. And this has a esoteric component, allow me the term, but it also has a ritual component for myself, because I trained my subconscious to accept this routine as a closing, it's like my closing statement of the session. So that chapter for the day for me is completely closed.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of times we talk about the mind-body connection. And a little ritual is not something you have to believe in, but it's kind of sending a signal to your mind that knowing that, okay, this is a moment specifically designed for this purpose.
That's precisely the point. That you said it beautifully.
Thank you.
So another question that I have is that, do you ever find yourself, because we said that we are human beings, we are therapists, but we are also people. So of course you're going to give advices to your client and you're going to teach them skills and or techniques or breathing exercise to feel better on their own. But do you ever find yourself needing an advice that you eventually give to the clients? You never maybe said something, oh, maybe you could try doing like this, and reflecting internally, oh, this could also apply to me.
Yeah, certainly. I think it kind of happens all the time. And it's also in my personal belief that all the encounters that you have in life, either it's someone that needed advice from you, or it is the universe way trying to send you a message, but just through a different medium. But what I always try to be really careful of is to draw the boundary, because sometimes when you feel like this is also the advice I'm looking for myself, and then you go into some kind of a self-therapy mode, and then you get drift off of the path where in the session you are still there for your client.
Yeah. It's really true, and it brings back the memory to the point. Of course, I think you remember, because we talked about this in the past. After the manifestation workshop, we had these two clients, and we didn't decide which therapist should get which client. The client decided, no?
Yeah.
And eventually, when we got out of those sessions, we had this conversation in which we really realized that I think this was really the client that I had to have in this moment.
Yeah.
Because I had to learn something. And in that session, I did learn something. And you came out with the same feelings. So sometimes it's really, if you believe it or not, but sometimes it's like the universe is orchestrating something to teach you a lesson. And sometimes the clients are the best teachers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can happen, definitely.
Yeah. And probably is also the, like, why it works so beautifully is that you're in this place trying to help the others, and you kind of let your own guard down. So you're not even thinking about or analyzing your own issue, and now you're trying to put yourself in a bystander perspective. And honestly, I never really noticed that during the session, and it's always afterwards when we are doing our little reviews, and then you start thinking like, wow, and that's the advice that I needed.
Sometimes when I do my little reviews, I can, as you said, sometimes also feel emotional about something, because as you said, when we go into the session, it can happen that when we work with our subconscious, we can really have an opening on the emotional side of us.
Yeah.
So it can really happen easily, actually.
For sure, yeah.
So we always have to learn something. Nobody is perfect. No therapist is perfect. We are human beings, guys.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So I have a question about your training days, and I know you had multiple extensive different trainings, but I'm interested in the training that you had in hypnosis specifically.
Okay.
Do you remember the first time you had to guide somebody into hypnosis during your training? How was the experience for you as a person approaching hypnosis for the first time on a practical level?
Yeah. So I think in general, our training has been very practical. So we started with a little bit of knowledge sharing, but I think pretty much from the first day, we're already practicing on each other. I think for me, that was really interesting to see, like, it just works so naturally. And probably that also works with the stereotype of hypnosis being something that is kind of taking you away from the present moment, like you have to go somewhere, but actually it is a natural state of mind. So everything just happens, as the most natural thing that you can think about. So I think for me that was like kind of the teachable moment to experience it personally. That is not something that is so out there. It's something that's been with us the whole time.
Okay. Were you anxious before doing the first hands-on technique in hypnosis, or is it something that came natural?
I will say it came naturally. I think it's kind of funny to think back now. When you go into the training, you are kind of overthinking and trying to put all the pieces, the steps into the right order. But once you are in the session, the session kind of just flows, because you are in the environment where you are already having such a close engagement with with a person sitting in front of you, you're connected to the energy, you can clearly see how he or she is reacting to it. So you are basically getting the communication, but just in a very subtle way, and then you adjust your techniques based on that.
It's a feedback loop to
exactly,
a point.
Yeah. And sometimes if you're just looking at the script itself, it's very easy to go into your logical thinking just by considering, okay, this is gonna be my step 1, 2, 3. But once you are in the session and you're seeing how your client is responding to every step that you try to integrate, you get a signal right away that you know when you need to adjust your techniques.
I totally agree, because it's in a way brings me back to the point in which you have to learn music. Okay, first you understand where the notes are, you think about your hands are moving, but as long as you think about your hands, you're not going to be good at music. You have to move past that step and get more into the flow. You have to be in the moment, being present and actively listen. You cannot only thinking about it what you're doing, otherwise you're going to lose yourself in the process, no? And I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Cool.
Speaking a little bit more about the training in hypnosis, is there something that really caught you by surprise? Maybe a piece of information that you never had and now you think it's really important for you to have for your profession or for yourself? It's something that came up that shocked you or really interested you. Oh, I didn't know this.
Well, I think the first thing come to my mind would still be the when our trainer talk about your subconscious has always been awake and is observing everything that you do, because that was triggered by my personal experience when I was in surgery. That basically your subconscious still recording the whole event that was happening. I think I always understood the concept of it, but having that example kind of just really gave me a shock right away, which leads to the further exploration that I really wanted to find out what happened during my surgery.
In my experience, I had a similar feeling talking about, of course, the subconscious mind and the way that it listens as well. And for me was more the message that we tell or the words we think in our minds, because those messages are the building blocks of our personality. So in a way we are, through the things that we are thinking and saying, we are in a way shaping the way we think and the way we act constantly. Because in the training we can speak about the trauma from the past that shaped your personality, and it is undoubtedly true, but this process never ends. And so we keep changing and we keep transforming according to the information that we feed ourselves. And this part really got stuck with me, because in a way I thought about it that, you know, when in America the police arrest you and they tell you anything you say can and will be used against you. And this is also true for the subconscious, because everything that you say or think that say to yourself will be used by your subconscious against you if it's something negative. That's why my key takeaway was really, okay, kindness towards ourselves should be a teaching for everybody, because every single time you tell something to yourself, you are conditioning yourself. So this was my takeaway to...
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective.
Yeah, it really made me think back in the day, yeah. Okay, let's change topic.
Yes.
I have another question, but of course, disclaimer, without breaking therapist-patient confidentiality. But can you tell us something funny that happened during a session for you? Maybe something that a client have said, or something that you thought about, a realization or anything, if any.
Yeah. So this case wouldn't really be funny per se, but it kind of come as a realization for myself. Because when we're in hypnosis, a lot of times people start experiencing that they can see things, they can basically relive the experience from the past, and that's basically what we're intending to do with regression. So I've had a client in regression where I lead her to a place where I think she is exactly where she needs to be, but she's just telling me that she doesn't see anything. But after trying different types of techniques, bringing her back and front, and she's still ending up in the same place, but still not being able to see, which is also completely common for some people. So I was kind of judging the book by its cover, thinking, okay, then probably she just really is not able to see anything. So at that moment, I was just trying to help her to more engage in the sensations. So not really the visual sensation, but more how she is feeling in her body.
Perceptions, etc.
Exactly. So after we ended the session, then she started telling me a story that happened in the past, or a story that came up to her mind, was that she used to be in a situation where she had something covered in front of her eyes that she just literally cannot see. And that kind of just come as a realization for me that I just never thought that this could be a scenario, which made it as a great discovery for myself. And so now if I go into a session or if I do a workshop, I always try to make use of this case to tell people that, there are some experiences that people tell you, but know that don't use them as the definition of what you are supposed to, because everyone will experience different things.
Okay, so it's like going in a regression back in time, and maybe this person is not that had aphantasia, they couldn't picture anything in her mind, but maybe it was just in a dark room in that moment, and that's why they couldn't see anything. So that's something that it's not intuitively there, so it's good that it happened actually.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So this question might be a little bit of a challenge, but as a therapist, do you ever get bored during a session, or that sometimes you just want to push the client a bit more, like, let's do this process faster?
Yeah, to be honest, I think that sometimes happens. It also comes with all the techniques that we learned. For example, with direct suggestion, where we are just repeating the same message to the client, but through different ways, try to use embodiment to really kind of implement this message so that it could really get absorbed in the subconscious. But of course, the idea of repetition, you're just repeating the same message using different tones, try to make it more playful. But in a way, it is still kind of a boring process. And of course, there are also some sessions where we give the moment of silence for the client to process. But I've also had clients who really needed a very long time. It's always good to check in a little bit, but I do notice sometimes that they probably started with just wanting to be in this place for a bit longer, and then something else kind of happened in the process, and then they started taking themselves on a journey. Then you lose touch with them from that point. So I think that is also kind of the little moment that you also need to notice, and that's why you always have to be 100% present in your session, even if you're not really guiding them in that process anymore, but you still need to kind of look at the client and kind of pick up these little clues that they might be doing something else now. So you can still be there to guide them through where they need to be. And that's essentially the reason why we always define a goal before we start with a session, because it's so easy once you get into the session where one emotion leads to 5, 6 other ones, and it's so easy to get drift up. Nothing wrong with it, but for defining a goal to really focus on, this helps you to be still on the right path without being taking over to all different kinds of directions.
Definitely, and you made me think about something that it was funny at the time. But it wasn't funny, but it was funny after I rationalized it a bit. In one of the first sessions that I had a kind of a complaint because I had to steer a client back to the session itself, because the client came with a specific issue. I'm not going to name it now, but and during the session I had to give a moment of silence, and I noticed that this moment of silence was getting longer and longer, and I understand that during the session the client doesn't really have the perception of time, but I do. And when it goes 10-15 minutes, I try to intervene with some question to pull the client back on track. And the complaint that I had is that the client actually wanted to stay there in silence a bit longer. But of course, I have to check the clock. The session has to have a specific outcome, hopefully. And so I was just trying to do my job. But sometimes these kind of things can definitely happen. And sometimes when we work with the subconscious, sometimes we open the Pandora's vase, no?
Exactly.
And emotions come out, and the clients might follow a different path, but that's why we set the intention beforehand. And sometimes it's possible to second the client and follow them, but sometimes there are time constraints, so we do our best, but this kind of situation definitely happen.
That's true.
So I have one last question for you today, and maybe we can do that some other time, because for me it was fun, and I hope you also enjoyed it, and also you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do.
But my last question is, you of course do hypnosis, you're a certified hypnotherapist, you also do mindfulness and many other things, but focusing for a moment only on hypnosis and mindfulness. Hypnosis is influencing the mind because we want to give a suggestion, a positive suggestion, to make a change, to improve something. And mindfulness is more observing the mind, because in mindfulness we want to observe our feelings, our thoughts passing like clouds. How do you merge these two techniques? How do you balance them in a way? What's your point of view?
I think I understood them by working on different layers of consciousness. So with mindfulness, you're working with your conscious awareness, where you are noticing things, and it also works more from your logical thinking. So as we say, the subconscious mind is taking care of more than 90% of what we do. Some people say 95%. But still, this sounds very small, but the 5% is actually what erase our awareness, what help us to recognize patterns and help us to notice these little clues that our minds are sending us. But of course, to build a healthy relationship with your mind, mindfulness teaches us to observe it, and without getting attached with it or passing judgment, because then you're going into this path of trying to fix something. So mindfulness is having a healthy distance with raising the awareness of noticing what is happening, observe it without passing the judgment, and then you can decide if there's something that you really want to deep dive into. And I think that is all the therapeutic thing comes in. And another thing that I've also been trained on this year is BWRT. So stands for Brain Working Recursive Therapy. So it works on the unconscious level of the mind. So think about things that if I throw a ball at you, you probably just have this automatic response of either you're gonna catch it or you're just gonna duck. So these are the things that kind of happen on the unconscious level that you just don't even have a way to recognize it. So I feel like there hasn't really been one thing that I learned that I felt like, oh, this is gonna be the revolutionary thing that's gonna solve all your issues. I think all the therapies, all the different frameworks can compensate each other and help to solve the little pieces. I can make an example of my driving anxiety. So I think mindfulness is a way for me to help recognizing the patterns or like the behaviors that I have. I know that when I'm nervous, I started to have little stomach unease that I know if I'm going to drive tomorrow, then my stomach is already acting up a little bit, or my shoulders start to tense up. So these are the very obvious clues that I can notice.
Okay.
So that's about your conscious awareness. I've gone into hypnotherapy to kind of figure out the past event that kind of created this trauma for me. So I have solved those things. But what happens in the unconscious part is that my mind has already been programmed in this way that if I encounter this event, I will always have this automatic response to it. And that's also not something that hypnotherapy can help completely. It probably solves 80% of the problem, but this little program route, this processing is still happening in the background on an unconscious level. So what BWRT really helped me is to kind of reprogram this automatic response of being frightened, nervous, into feeling relaxed. And it normally works with very specific response. You're trying to reprogram your mind. So what I did for myself, so by using mindfulness, I recognize that every time I'm getting a bit anxious in the car, my shoulder will tense up. I start to grab the wheel really tight.
And mindfulness sends you the alarm.
Yeah, so that I notice I'm doing this. So putting hypnotherapy aside for a while, because that's something you do the deep dive part on. But with rewinding your brain with the BWRT is what I decided to feel more at ease, more laid back, where I can really like sit more against the chair in my car so that I can have a broader view of what is happening and anticipate with the traffic. So that's how I decided on, okay, this is the preferred response that I want to have. So that's what I kind of rewired myself in that scenario. And it really just works magically because it just really works on an unconscious level that it's like changing the battery in a way that it's changed and now the lights work. And there's not so much that you need to understand more. It just simply works. So no matter how nervous that I am when I get in the car, now I just realize that I might still have this little unease feeling, but what my body is automatically responding is that I'm sitting relaxed in my car.
So you taught your unconscious another way to feel in that specific situation.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do conscious mind, subconscious mind, unconscious mind. So you cover the full spectrum.
Basically. Exactly, yeah. I think this will probably be a more wholesome or holistic approach of trying to solve a complex issue from different angles.
Definitely.
Sometimes maybe the issue is more laying on one layer of your mind and it probably already works magically.
And it's easily solvable, for example, with one of the techniques or disciplines.
Yeah.
But sometimes a more extensive work is required.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do recognize another danger that we could have with the therapy is that Yeah, I think within the session we did help to reprogram some part. But what happens is that when you go into the real world, you're still getting stimulates from all over the places, and
Definitely,
in a
yeah.
way, it is still conditioning you, adding on top of, adding the layer on top of each other.
Especially if the conditioning that comes from outside goes directly against the suggestion that we just gave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of contraindicating.
Yeah.
Contradicting to what we are trying to do with the therapy. And I noticed that with my driving anxiety too. So I thought at the moment I already solved my problem, but if someone sits with me and still makes me more nervous, and actually this little stimulations that I'm having all the time is kind of conditioning me again to feel more nervous, more nervous.
Did you remember the arrow? Did
Yeah.
you remember this? Is the belt? Okay.
Yeah.
Those, yeah.
So that's also the things that we kind of, so it's not like in one session that you will be never having this problem all over again. So that also makes me realize the therapy itself is not trying to fix an issue, but also more about empowering the client to recognize what is happening, so they can also build a more healthier coping mechanism for themselves, that they start recognizing the patterns and then they know when to stop them to be able to protect themselves from being conditioned again. That works a lot of times with relationships. So you can heal someone, but then they're still gonna go back to their old life. They're still gonna get all this emotional manipulation or trauma that's coming at them all the time.
From everywhere.
Yeah. So having that awareness helps them to recognize signs early on and know that, okay, I'm gonna stop now, and so that it doesn't get to me closer or even get into the phase of condition me into something that I don't want to have in the first place. So that's just helps to not undo all the wonderful work that we have achieved in the therapy.
Yeah. It's a good way to say it, and it's close from my point of view, because what I personally believe is that what I do with my job is that I'm empowering is a beautiful word. I often say that I try to teach the skills needed to be a good guardian for their mind. Because when you are a good guardian for your mind, you can decide which information is important to you or which information could actually not be beneficial for you. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much for all the knowledge that you shared today. And I hope we can do the same very soon. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to say something else by closing, or just say thank you and like and subscribe.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and hope we will see each other again soon with more insights.
Definitely will.
Cool.
Thank you very much again. Guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and you found something useful in all the knowledge that we shared. And if you're still here, quick sponsor from myself and Mengjia. This is a book that we wrote together, From Overthinking to Inner Peace. This book, well, to me, it's wonderful. It's full of knowledge, practical exercise that you can do in the quiet of your home to really manage your thoughts better, learn how to use your mind in a more efficient way, and ultimately to live with a peaceful mind. And peaceful mind, peaceful life. Thank you very much again. And if you want to pick up the book, it's basically everywhere. You can get the paperback, hardcover, or the ebook online. And also check out the course based on the book with the same intention. Guys, thank you very much again. Enjoy your day. So always talking about a little